Welcome everybody to CSL Dallas. We are so grateful that you came here to join us today, and happy holidays to wherever you are watching us all across the world. And just a reminder, we'd like to invite all of you to join us at csldallas.org for all your spiritual content, inspirational and uplifting classes, and ways to stay connected here to your family at CSL Dallas. So, join me by putting your hands together and welcoming the CSL Dallas music team.
Every face I see, the one is all around me, expressed so lovingly. I am what I am what God is, perfect light, love. I am what I am what God is, perfect hope.
One more time. Good morning. There you go. I had to hear your voices and feel the energy. My name is Chantel, and I am your platform assistant today. Welcome to our Sunday celebration here at CSL Dallas. We are grateful that you are here in person. I get to see your faces. Yay! And joining us online, I feel your presence as well. So thank you again for being here today. I invite you to come hang out with us on social media. So let your friends know, to let their friends know that you are here, to make sure that anyone who wants to be connected to this community has the opportunity to do so. All right, here's the special part. CSL Dallas is a special place that I call my spiritual home. I hope it's a special place that you call your spiritual home. Is that right? Yes. All right, so join me in saying, we are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, transforming lives. There we go. Let's give some snaps to that. All right. If anyone didn't know, okay, jingle bells. Whenever she does jingle bells, that's my cue to shake what my mama gave me. Can you do it? Shake what your mama gave you. There you go. I had to do it for my mama. All right. If you didn't already know, it's cold outside. Did you know that? Yes? So winter is here. Not summer solstice. Winter solstice is here. It is heating up here at CSL Dallas. Tuesday night is a special night. It's the winter solstice once again, and we are having a labyrinth here on campus starting at 7:00 p.m. Also, on Friday night is a big night. What's happening on Friday, y'all? You know? Christmas Eve. Okay, I hear the bells. We're in Patty. I can't shake what my mama gave me every time you ring the bell. Christmas Eve, we are having a candle lighting celebration. We want you here. We want you to join us. If you cannot be here in person, it's okay. You can join us online, okay? Then we have New Year's Day at noon. Do y'all know what happens on New Year's Day? Say it one more time. Burning Bowl. It is one of my favorite events to start off the year. Want you to be here. Here's what I love about it. The Burning Bowl activity allows for you to burn away any and everything that does not serve you. And I got a list. Do y'all have a list? Say it one more time. Do you have a list? Yes? Okay, awesome. So make sure that you bring that list with you so that you can burn it too at the Burning Bowl. Another amazing opportunity is that it allows for you to set new powerful intentions for 2022. So I am looking forward to burning and reigniting my intentions to move forward into the new year. There we go. You can see Reverend Patty back there. It is truly the best place to be in the DFW Metroplex, so feel free to join us, okay? If you are like me, I'm ready to transform my life. Anybody like me? Yes? All right, so we have some amazing classes here at CSL Dallas for you to do just that. The first one is creating a vision for your life. First course that allows for you to deepen your spiritual practice. And this is a concept that was developed by Michael Beckwith. Anybody know him? Yes? All right, I love him. This is a 4-week class that begins on January 6th. You have no prior experience necessary to catch the vision, so make sure that you join us. Again, opportunity in person and online. The second class that I want you to know about is that 2022 is the year to create the life of your dreams. Again, this course also allows for you to deepen your spiritual practices that you can put into practice to harness the power of the universe. Say after me one more time, harness the power of the universe. Yes. This is only a 5-week class, and it begins on January 18th, and 2 is offered in person and online. I'm just grateful for all of these course offerings that are here in this community. I hope that you find one, at least one, that will serve your spirit well now, tomorrow, and the coming year. Okay? And now, join us in this song, Spirit's Prayer.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore.
Please go within with me as we go to that center point, that place where we remember the loving Spirit is indwelling. It is what we came here with and for and as. This integrative, loving Spirit that expresses itself through each of us in our beingness. We are absolutely the pure expression of this light and love in the world. We came here for it. We are imbued with it. It is the impetus of our life and the lives of others to express this love, this belonging, this knowing, absolutely, this indwelling divinity as it flows and moves and expresses right through us and for us and as us. So grateful to just take time to remember it and to notice it. Just to notice. So in this loving awareness, we simply use this time of gratitude to be within and receive this joy and light of this blessed season. And together we say, and so it is.
Loving Spirit dwells in us. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in us, now and evermore. Life is in me, moving through me, beyond question, steady and strong. Power and presence is my essence, been within me all along. What is there to be afraid of? Pure light is what we are made of. Life is in me. Life is in me, moving through me, beyond question, steady and strong. Power and presence is my essence, been within me all along. What is there to be afraid of? Your light is what we are made of. Life is in you. Life is in you. Can you feel it? Look inside you, look around. Power and presence is your essence. Where you stand is holy ground. What is there to be afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? Light is what we are made of.
Pure light, and we have a very, very, very special guest for you today. We're very excited to welcome back to our Sunday morning experience celebration and to the platform the lovely and talented Linda Bishop, and she's going to come on up here and sing for you a Melissa Etheridge version for the winter solstice of O Night Divine. We're so happy you're here, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. There is a time in late December, the sun stands still in winter for 3 days and 3 long nights. Throughout time we watched the sky and waited for the sun to come and save us. Save us from the longest night. For years I've been doing things and singing songs that don't make any sense. But if I scratch the surface just a little bit, this holiday paint is pretty thin. Look to the skies with hope and wonder. There's a star in the east to guide us home. We are closer now than we've ever been to peace on earth and goodwill to them as we celebrate the last night. Oh, night divine.
Linda, thank you so much. Thank you, Kirby, Matt, Jonathan, and Brad. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm weeping in the back over there, right? It's fabulous. And thank you so much. And Melissa wrote that for winter solstice. As you may recall, so much of our holiday traditions are actually taken from the winter solstice. Thank you. You really moved me. Yeah, you can clap for her again. Oh my gosh. And, whew. So today we're talking about I Am the Light, O Night Divine. On winter solstice, we celebrate the light this extraordinary understanding that there is something profound about light and darkness, and that it is a divine night. So often we couch darkness in something that we're afraid of and to be avoided. And yet on this longest night, we have the opportunity, when we celebrate the light, to recognize that there's something really, really, really important also going on in the dark, in the divine night. And so, so what I noticed today about my talk is I am not giving you the 3-point talk with a conclusion and application for your life for this next week. Sorry about that. This is a little more of an essay, this talk. It is actually my musings around light, because I find the topic fascinating in so many different ways that all sort of point to the same thing. So you can pretend that you're just reading an essay as opposed to like some point-by-point thing, and explore it with me, if you would. I've been participating in a winter solstice celebration here in Dallas. I participated in it for 20 years that was put on by the pagan and Wiccan community. And of course, it is the winter solstice we get from the indigenous northern European countries and the indigenous people in the northern European countries. And of course, when the Holy Roman Empire moved into that area, they called them pagans. They were, in fact, practicing their own nature traditions, nature spirituality that was indigenous to the areas. And the longest night in the north, the further north you go, of course, the longer the night becomes. And there's actually places then where the sun doesn't even come over the horizon during the deepest, darkest parts of the winter. And so the indigenous people told stories about how the light was being eaten and the darkness was overcoming it. And then on winter solstice, the celebration is to affirm that the light comes back, right? And all of our hero journey stories and all of the, you know, the ones that I love, Star Wars and Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and all these great heroes, you know, they're all the hero journey and they're all about, you know, light overcoming darkness. Except that from a spiritual point of view, from the point of view of oneness, there actually are not two powers contending against each other. And so this celebration that happened for many years because of the beautiful and talented Amy Martin, she really took a different take on that story from a metaphysical point of view. And in each of the winter solstice celebrations that I was a part of, we actually honored and acknowledged the dark. Because the dark, too, provides something really important: rest and solitude. It provides an opportunity for quiet and self-reflection. In the light can be very busy, and it can be very much about, you know, shining the light on things so that we can participate and create and be out there and do all of that sort of thing. And yet the going within into the cave of the heart, that's actually a place of darkness and quiet. And so rather than having light and dark contend with themselves, from a place of wholeness and oneness, we recognize that light and dark are actually in harmony with each other. They are complementary expressions of life, equally important. We get from the East, we get the yin-yang symbol. And what you may not know is that the yin-yang symbol is actually intended to be a moving symbol. It's actually intended where you see that in the light, in the white or the light side, there's a dark circle, and in the dark side, there's a light circle. And what's actually happening in each case is that the light is breaking through into the darkness and taking on that space, and while simultaneously the dark is breaking through to the light side and taking over that side in a perpetual motion of harmony. and integration. The yin-yang symbol recognizes that the experience that we have here on the human plane is fundamentally based on the pairs of opposites, light and dark, and that these are complements to each other, and that both are necessary. And so when we make this night divine, we make friends with the dark. We make it divine and sacred. We make it a place where the Native Americans, when they go into the sweat lodge, into the darkness, they go into the cave of Mother Earth on a vision quest. It is to make friends with the dark and to open ourselves to it and allow it to illuminate something within as opposed to something without. We aren't often invited into this deep place of making the dark sacred. And it's a powerful work. And part of the reason why we don't do it is because we also recognize that it is in our darkness that we find our woundedness. From depth psychology and Carl Jung, we get the idea of the shadow. And the shadow is that dark side of us where we shove all the places and all the things that are unacceptable about us. All the ways that we're not a good girl, or a strong boy, or whatever the family and cultural messages are that we don't quite fit into, or those places that we find unacceptable within ourselves, our irritation, our anger, our depression. We put all of that in the shadow. We put our traumas there, those things that we don't want to deal with. And so our darkness, that dark side of us, can feel very scary because our woundedness is living there. And of course, we think if we put it in the shadow, nobody will ever see it. The problem is the only person who doesn't see it is us, right? Because it's in our shadow. It's actually not in anybody else's. They actually see it loud and clear because it comes out around the outside, right? We all have had this experience. Comes around the outside or over the top or some kind of way, and we're only fooling ourselves if we think that it's hidden. It's only hidden from us. And so part of making friends with the darkness is to be courageous enough to look in the shadow, to be willing to see what's in there, to be willing to do the work of healing the trauma, of forgiving our woundedness, of doing whatever the work is that is there to bring the light into the psyche. I remember really, when I first started doing this work, I was deeply resistant to it. I was terrified of what I would find there. Actually, I believe that in that space there was a black hole that I had circled around so much in my suicidal depression that I was afraid that if I got too close to it, I would literally fall in and disappear, and that I would cease to exist. And so I avoided it. And therapist after therapist would walk me up to the edge, and I would turn away. And it was really in the spiritual work that I began to have the courage to bring the light into that darkness. And what I realized was that it's like going into the attic. When you go into the attic and there's no light, and maybe just a little light filtering in from the windows, and you see all these spooky shapes. I remember going up to our attic as a kid, and it had all kinds of stuff up there, and 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 then you realize, oh wait, it's just a coat hanging there, or, it's an old pair of suitcases stacked on top of each other, but it looks like this looming thing. And the very first thing that happens when you bring your flashlight there and you turn the flashlight on, the very first thing that happens is, first of all, you get to see what it actually is. It's a box, or it's a guitar thing, or whatever. It's something recognizable. But when you first shine the light on it, the shadows actually get darker, don't they? But you notice that they're just shadows of the boxes. And if you'll unpack the boxes and see what's in there, the shadows actually begin to dissipate. We bring the light in so that we can look into the darkness and look at the shadows. And that light, I loved what Ernest Holmes talks about the light, and the way that we can begin to get a hold of this idea that dark and light aren't contending with each other is he says simply do this thought experiment. Do a thought experiment right now with me. Imagine a room. All the doors and windows are closed. Shades are drawn. The room is basically dark, right? It's 100% dark. And you decide to light a candle out in the hallway. You open the door and you walk into the room with the candle. Just imagine that in your mind. What does the darkness do? What does the darkness do? It dissipates, doesn't it? The darkness does. The very first time I ever read this in The Science of Mind, the darkness does not fight back. I was like, what? What happened to all my heroes' journeys, right? And the light and the dark contending with each other. No, the darkness does not fight back. It's simply the absence of light. That's all darkness is, but the absence of light. The moment that we bring the light in, the dark ceases to exist. It simply dissipates. It's not even a thing of itself. It's not like it's fog that's dissipating in the mist or in the sunlight. I mean, it actually isn't anything. It's simply the absence of light. So the most amazing thing now about all of this is to recognize that it's actually impossible in its entirety to have absence of light. It's actually impossible because everything is made out of light. Everything is made out of light. This is not just a spiritual statement. It's not just a statement that you find written in the mystics. This is now a statement that you can read on Wikipedia when you research quantum physics, the quantum field, and light. Science continues to catch up to what the mystics have known all along. Everything is, in fact, made of light. We have it in the Western creation stories. In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth, right? The very first thing that happened was light. And that is corroborated by our evolutionary understanding of the Big Bang Theory. The very first thing after the Big Bang and the first atoms and molecules are created, or they're not even, the first subatomic particles are created in the 0.03 seconds after the Big Bang, light appears. Now, what's so interesting is what light actually is. I'll tell you a secret. Are you ready? They don't know. Is that wild? This is like, they don't know. So we talk about, when we talk about these things, and I talk a little bit about them, you probably have read or heard about photons of light, right? Photons of light are considered the smallest piece of something that is measurable. And a photon of light is actually what's emitted as an energetic burst when these quarks are moving into and out of existence, right? We know that that's what's happening in the quantum field. Things are moving into existence and moving out. And every time that a quark is doing that, every time an electron is shifting the level of where it is and combining with other electrons to make molecules and atoms, every time this is happening, there's a spark, there's a burst of energy. And that energy is a photon of light. So, light is actually energy. It's not actually light, it's actually energy. Actually, what it is a wave. Well, it acts like a wave. It's not really a wave. Only things are waves, like oceans and sound waves and things like that. Light isn't actually a wave, but it acts like a wave. Oh, but it also acts like a particle. No, it's a particle. No, actually, it's not a particle. It just acts like a particle. It's not really a particle. But it's not really a wave either. Sort of acts like a wave, kind of acts like a particle, but isn't either one of them. And it's not energy that's actually measurable. Like it isn't energy like as in energy you can put in your car or in your solar panel or anything. Like it's not really there. But it is. I'm serious. They actually don't know what light is. It sort of is like this, and it sort of is like that, and you can see how it behaves, and you can see what it does, and you can see what its impact is. And then not only do they say it's packets of energy, it's also packets of information, right? Because it's the light that's bouncing off of this that actually tells me that it's here, tells me that it's round, tells me that what it looks like. It's actually the light that's bouncing off that I'm receiving that's actually telling me something about the world in which I am living. So it's not, and you know what else it is? Oh, wild, completely wild. Do you know that light is the only thing we eat? Light is the only thing we eat. It is the fundamental source of all food. Just, I know you have to stop and think about that for a minute, like, what? But other than a few things that do chemical energy, like there's like 2 or 3 little weird, microbes and fungi, everything else begins with the photosynthesis process. The plants take in the light, somehow they magically turn it into something that is usable. And then we either eat the plants or the animals eat the plants, and we eat the animals, and ultimately it's the energy that we take in from food. Is that like just the wildest thought? So every time you put something in your mouth, unless it's completely synthetic, even then, those synthetics are all made out of this fundamental thing, which we're not actually sure what it is, called light. Have you ever tried to describe spirit? Have you ever tried to describe how spirit is the oneness behind all things and how we're sourced from that and it's the source of our being and that's what we're expressing, right? Have you ever tried to talk about that? When I do, I find myself a little tongue-tied. I'm not exactly sure. Like, I don't really know how to describe it because every time I describe it, I'm using physical language, physical words. But it's not physical. It's not anything yet. So it could be that when we're eating light, we're ingesting spirit. Or a spirit is sourcing us in some form or fashion. The source of life itself is moving, and we are partaking of it in some way. What an extraordinary thing to think about. And that's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's not only the photons of light that we're all emitting, it's not only the sort of the building block of everything. It's not really a thing, so I don't know how it's the building block, but it's everywhere present, all of the time. And you can actually, in certain states, and you can actually see it fall as a fine white mist. I don't know how many of you have had that experience. You can actually see it. And with your eyes open, not with your eyes closed, not imagining it, you can, in fact, actually see it. What an amazing thing. And so light is actually called electromagnetic. It's actually the electromagnetic field. It's actually waves and frequencies, which is why we talk so much about the frequency, the resonating with the alignment with spirit, right? When we talk about alignment, being in alignment with life, being in alignment with love, being in alignment with spirit, we're literally saying we're tuning our own vibrational frequency to the frequency of light. Think about that for a minute. Not visible light only. That's a tiny little portion of what light actually is, or what they can at least measure about it. Now I want to go back to this beautiful song that Linda so beautifully sung from Melissa Etheridge. We've sort of done the same thing, right? We've co-opted the winter solstice to have a beautiful song that hints at the O Night Divine. We actually sang Spirit's Prayer, which is a nod to the Christian Our Father, and Lord's Prayer. And so, you know, that's exactly what happened when the Roman Empire and Catholicism moved into the Northern European. They simply co-opted the indigenous spirituality that was there. They just co-opted it. Instead of fighting it or trying to squash it, they simply made it part of the Catholic traditions. And so the tree and the holly and the berries and all of that was long before the Christian tradition, thousands of years earlier than that, and they just co-opted and retold a story about it. And so we're doing the same because we're using a lot of Christian, we've used some Christian music. We have O Night Divine. And I want to talk a little bit about this song because I knew that Linda was going to be singing it. So all week I've been singing the original O Night Divine, and so I really caught me. It's really caught me for the first time. The words of the song. So O Night Divine is the most requested spiritual song ever. It's sung in virtually every midnight mass in Catholic churches, in Episcopal churches, in Christian churches around the world. It's considered this, staple. It was originally written in the early 1800s, and then in the early 1850s it was set to music. And it was written by some parish priest, kind of like Silent Night was written. And they began singing it, and the Catholic Church did not like that. The music was way too big. It wasn't really about the same feeling, and they were very concerned about the message. So actually in the 1860s, they actually began banning O Night Divine from the Catholic masses in France, which is where it was originally written. It was originally written in French, and they began banning it because they were concerned about the socialist nature of the words. The second or third verse. Truly, he taught us to love one another. His law is love. His gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother. And in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy and grateful chorus raise we. Let all within us praise his holy name. This is the translation by an abolitionist by the name of Dwight, who brought it to the United States. He was so moved by this piece of music and how it spoke about liberation that he translated it. The musicologists and the religionists thought it was a maudlin, terrible translation and it should never be used. And it is, of course, one of our most beloved hymns for the Christmas season, which tells you what they knew. But I got caught on listening to the song on the radio and listening to those words in my own mind. How many of us have sung it? How many churches this Christmas will sing that song? How many people in their homes will sing along? And yet, how much oppression continues to be made manifest here in the United States. Voter suppression, the oppression of women's rights to choose, and the oppression of our African American, Black brothers and sisters, our immigrants. I tell you, the last time I heard this song this week, I wept. How can we sing these words and not understand that we're not doing it? Not in our culture. You know what? Let me rephrase that. Many of us are doing it. Many of us are working on it. And some of us are not. And in some of those very churches that are going to be singing these words, another message is preached. And this is one of the most beloved songs of this holiday season. That, my friends, I believe, is what it means to bring light to a subject. To bring light to truth. To bring light to what's going on. Just as we have to look into our own shadows, we have to look into our own darkness, we have to look into our cultural shadows and our cultural darkness as well. We have to be willing to see and to perceive the ways in which we are not resonating, not aligning, not in the vibrational frequency of our own spiritual understanding and the truth that we seek to live. So what it means to bring light to a subject, right, and to our own consciousness, it is to see our own false beliefs, to feel our sense of separation and to say, wait, but that's not really true. It's only a sense of separation. To become aware of our unconscious bias around life and people and situations and all of the ways in which we are unconscious. That's what it means to have an unconscious bias. To bring light to this subject. And when we bring light to the subject and it's very close to our woundedness, you see we go into defensive mode. We defend. We also bring light to a subject when we look at our own hidden motivations. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to say this? What's really going on with me? What's really going on with me, not with the other person? What's causing me to react this way? What's happening within me? These are the ways in which we begin to bring light to what's going on within us and the impact that, quite frankly, social media is having on us. And the confusion that it can engender in whether our lives are good enough, whether we measure up, whether we, are constantly comparing ourselves to others. And so we bring light to the subject. Bringing light to the subject means we bring our critical thinking, not criticism, but our critical thinking to news, to fake news, to injustice, to inequity, to the things that are going on in our climate, to the ways in which these things are not being spoken about or are being spoken about incorrectly out of ignorance and fear and control and the need for power. To bring light to the subject and to be courageous enough to bring the light to the subject, not only within ourselves, but also in the world or in the conversation, to bring light to the complicity that we ourselves have to what's happening on our planet, to not hide from ourselves the impact that we ourselves, individually and collectively, are having. This is what it means to bring light and to have all oppression cease, to have all oppression cease. The oppression of conformity, the oppression of ignorance, the oppression of greed or power, to bring light and to have the courage. So often we focus on peace. We talked about this last week. We focus on peace as in I'm not going to say anything because why bother? But mostly what we think is I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to offend anybody. But our silence is consent. Our silence is agreement, right? But if we can peacefully bring light to a subject, I just had this conversation with a friend. They were in with a family, and one partner was like, "Don't say anything," and the other partner was like, "I have to speak up and say, wait. So let's say what's really so about this." No argument, no, I'm going to make you see this, but I am going to bring it to light. Do you see the difference? I'm going to bring it to light. There's another way of looking at this. But we can shy away from that. We can shy away from that and not be bringers of light. And so so there's so many light metaphors, right? Bring light to a subject. We want to lighten up, right? What does it mean to lighten up? Maybe not take it so seriously, have a little more fun with it, don't carry it around as a burden. We use the term lighten up to lift things up. We use the term enlightenment to enlighten, right? We want to enlighten ourselves with our critical thinking, with our awareness of what's real and true, but we also want to enlighten our consciousness with spiritual truth, to have a larger vision, a larger understanding of reality. And ultimately, I love the word illuminate, right? To illuminate truth, to illuminate with our very lives. What if when we walked around in the world, our life illuminated, this is what it looks like to live as deeply grounded in a spiritual life as we possibly can. Are we perfect? No. But we're wholly ourselves, and we're doing the very best we can to live in that place of light. And so to bring the light into the darkness around us is part of the call of the winter solstice, to bring light into the darkness, to be the place where the light is recognizing that we're shining the light on the dark, we're not afraid of it, we're making friends with the dark and seeing what's there, and we're bringing light into the darkness so that it dissipates, so that we can illuminate spiritual truth, to bring that light, and to continually bring that light without bringing our woundedness with it. Right? That's our work. That's our work. Otherwise, we're just projecting our stuff out on other people, right? So we have to do our work. It's not just out there. It's not just bringing light to the other people, but to work with it ourselves. So the other thing about the shadow, I'll never forget the first time I read this from Carl Jung. The other thing about the shadow. Do you know what else we disown in the shadow? Do you know what else is hiding there? What is it? Our best self. Our light is hiding in the shadow there as well because we find it equally unacceptable. We're afraid of it. We've certainly been told not to brag about it, not to talk about it. Who do you think you are, right? And so we have just as much put our gold into the shadow. The deepest desires of our hearts, our spiritual connection, our deepest intuition, those times that we know, and somebody says, well, how do you know? And we're left standing there going, I just know. And we're dismissed or diminished or belittled. Right? All of that we've shoved into the shadow as well. And so when we bring light to our shadow, we reveal our own light, our greatest and most profound assets, and the truth of our being might also be hiding there. So we want to bring your light to the world because the world needs it, doesn't it? I need it. We need it. So I want to read you these two quotes. These are really have spoken to me over the years. The first one is from Frederick Buechner, where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. We hear a further call. Our deep gladness might be hiding in the shadow. Our deep gladness is our very light. That is the truth of who we are and what we are here to contribute. Howard Thurman says this, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. That aliveness is our light. That aliveness is our light, our deepest self, our truest understanding, our profound intuition, and the very light that we are. So, I want to close by reading you again a few paragraphs from The Science of Mind. I just want you to listen. Close your eyes if you choose. There is a light and life at the center of all things, and a consciousness that responds. This imprisoned splendor to the eyes that perceive it bursts like the glory of a new dawn. This incarnated consciousness and intelligence in all things can communicate itself to us and speak a divine language to the one who listens. Let us learn to live by inspiration and to have joy in the thought that our light need not be borrowed from another, but that each is invited to add his or her light to the sum total of human consciousness. Unless we become the living embodiment of love and light, we shall have no justification in saying that spirit is love and light. Unless we use the freedom we have without abusing it, we shall have no justification in saying that we are masters of our own soul or the creator of our own destiny. But if we can bind ourselves together reverently, in love and compassion, in mutual acceptance and understanding, under the cohesive powers of the universal law of good, and the beneficence of a divine and universal presence, then shall we be able to use the liberty without license, to separate unity from uniformity, and to lead the world down the pathway of a new enlightenment. And so it is.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
And so it is. I just have to say, Dr. Peacher, thank you. Every time I come here, it's like I get plugged, my light is plugged in.
Yes.
True or true? My light is plugged in and my cup is full and I needed this. So thank you. Now's the time for an affirmative prayer. Okay, so if you could say this with me. I enter into this special month of giving and receiving with joyful anticipation, spontaneous enthusiasm, and overflowing gratitude. And so it is. Yes, 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 yes. So good. In this moment, we have the opportunity for you to join us in demonstrating abundance and gratitude in action through the spirit of giving. So as you can see, we have our gift baskets coming around, and we ask for your continual support, which allows for us to sustain this community and do and serve more of our highest good in the world. And again, just as a personal note for me, it was just a reminder of not just who I am, but what I am, and I am light. You are light. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us in the form of financial gifts, but also just your gift of your presence in your life here today. All right? So thank you for that. We have a few other ways for you to give. You can give by texting the word give to 972-954-4404. One more time, that's 972-954-4404. There's also a QR code for those of us that are joining online. You can click there and join us on our website, csodallas.org. And remember, what's happening on Tuesday night? Labyrinth! Yes, Labyrinth! So we want to see you there. We also want to see you on Christmas Eve as we light up our sanctuary and light up our homes on such a sacred night. If you are in need of affirmative prayer, our licensed spiritual coaches have got you covered. You can join us in the Peace Room that's right across the breezeway. Also in that area is coffee, food, some fellowship, connections, opportunity to do that. And if you are online, we also want to extend this offering to you for affirmative prayer. It'll be available in your Zoom room. There'll be a link somewhere in there, so just click on that and we'll make sure that you get connected. Again, thank you. So glad to see you. So glad to feel you here with us today. And thank you for sharing your light with us. And now, join us in the celebration to end out our talk today. Love enough.
Please stand.
Join our hearts and minds as one. Our journey here has just begun. The path has been made clear for all who gather here. With open arms, our hearts embrace. The spirit here is held in place. The circle never ends. For you and me, my friend.